Hey family, welcome to How Love Works, where we talk about the principles for lasting love. Well family, I want to talk about a great subject today. I got my idea from one of my, I like to say she wasn't a very happy listener. I don't know if she actually listened to everything I had to say, but I got my idea about what I want to discuss today from one of the comments and one of the commenters. Her name is Tina or Trina, but I want to tell her if she is looking or listening, thank you. I do wholeheartedly agree with your perspective relative to the issue we're going to be discussing today. Today, I want to talk about a subject matter that has to do with the antithesis of the subject that I talked about a couple of days ago when I was talking about why are black women fat. So I think it is apropos. I think it's fair to take a look at why is it that black men are fat, broke, and lonely. Why is it that some black men are fat, broke, and lonely? I don't want to send the wrong message out by my expression that I think that it's funny that some black men are fat and some are broke and some are lonely. I don't mean to leave that impression with you, but I am laughing inside because of the fact that the young lady said something a little different. She said that after I guess she watched what I had to say about the hormonal issue and all the food that a lot of African American women have been and have been, I guess you could say, in indulged with, I guess, if that's a word. I guess they've gotten too much of this food from the food industry, and I didn't say it then, but it's a reality. You know, most of the food that a lot of black women are eating, let's keep it real, they don't have any control over it. It comes from the food industry. They do have control over what they put in their mouths, obviously, and what they buy with their money, but a lot of it is because, you know, they buy what they buy based upon the way they were raised, and they develop habits over the years, and things just get out of hand after a while. But I want to deal with the subject now with black men. There's not a whole lot to add in terms of why black men are fat. Black men are not in the range of the 80 percentile, but black men do top the list in terms of the weight of overweight and obesity levels among men in the United States. Black men, we at the top of that list. You know, we're number one. There are a lot of black men that are overweight. There are a lot of black men that are obese. And obviously, the big reasons was the same four hormones that I talked about before. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail on this either. So I told you it was estrogen, cholesterol, I'm sorry, not cholesterol, cortisol, insulin, and melatonin. And when all of those hormones are out of sync, they're out of balance, then you're going to have problems with the body storing weight, primarily because the body's intelligent, the body's self-aware, the body self-regenerating and self-healing. What will occur is that the body will just take food and start to store it, especially if the food has no nutritional value whatsoever. The body has no precedent. In other words, it doesn't know what to do with something it is not aware it can't use for nutrient value. So the body will just store it. And unfortunately for a lot of black men, as you will notice that most black men's weight, you will find that it's right here in the center of our bodies. It's in our gut area. And then of course you'll see some black men, they'll have it in their hindquarters, but by and large African American men, they store their weight in the gut, and they store their weight here in the chest area. Now, most of that weight is cortisol. Of course, that's the culprit for most of that weight located in those areas. And that's primarily also due to another hormone, which is estrogen. Now, a lot of black men do the same thing black women do. We end up taking in a lot of foods that has a lot of estrogen laced in the food, and as a result, we start getting these pregnant bellies and these little skinny stick legs, and because our body's burning fat, burning muscle, catabolic muscle in our legs, and so we're experiencing a lot of problems. And of course, I think a lot of areas that black men seem to dominate in terms of areas of defiance, and you see a lot of problems in the penal systems. You see a lot of problems in the school systems where behavior is a little out of control for young black males. As this defiant oppositional behavior, a lot of it has to do with the deficiencies that black men are experiencing at a young age. Deficiencies like mineral deficiencies. One of the big ones is zinc, and all of these play havoc in the African American community, especially relative to men. So that is the issue with us. That's where you could see why we're fat. That's why a lot of black men are fat. It's because of the fact, once again, there are a lot of different areas that contribute to that. Food being one. We're ignorant on how to eat, just like black women, and we indulge, just like black women, in various types of behavior, like hanging out late at night, not coming in, having a lifestyle that won't allow us to achieve the 7 to 8 hours of rest that the body requires in order to break down the waste matter in the body. And when we're not able to do that, the body just stores it all as fat. It'll just store it. And so, and then how we're constantly going out and eating fast food and eating all this bread, and this bread, in my view, is turning into nothing but glue in the body and stopping up everything in our body and all the different bodily processes. So we're having all kinds of problems as a result. And so that is one of the biggest reasons why black men are obviously experiencing so much weight gain. And lastly, the stress area. A lot of black men are dealing with an enormous amount of stress, primarily because of financial deficiencies. A lot of it is because of relational trauma that black men are not really willing to go into a lot of detail on. Black men are very private when it comes to their relationships, and they don't like to deal, or nor do they like to communicate with anyone other than the individual that they're in their that they're in a relationship with. So these are the problems that you see in our community relative to the tremendous weight gain that black men are experiencing. But again, the solutions are pretty simple. You get your hormones under control, you get them balanced. You eat, as I said before, eat real food, not the processed stuff. Eliminate the sugar or reduce it extremely, because sugar strips minerals from the body, and sugar turns into a toxin after a while. It causes all kind of problems. And you kind of stay away from the preservatives, antibiotics, and all the other problems that you see with all this fake food that they're giving us. And as I say, eat real. You want to eat, 15, 20% meat, 80% vegetables, fruit, and nuts. That's where you want to get your carbohydrates. You want to eat your macros, your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates. That's pretty much all you want to do. If you want to do anything different and you want to eat all this processed food, fast food, all this junk food, and drink all your calories up in sodas and juices and all that stuff, black men will continue to have female breasts and big bellies. And it's not going to change. And it's going to translate into psychological conditions as well. So that's the issue when it comes to weight. Okay, that's one of our issues. Okay, the second issue is, why is it that you see a lot of brothers out here that's kind of broke? Now, yeah, there's a lot of brothers that may be broke, and a lot of reasons that they're broke is because black men have never really been they've never really been good financially from the standpoint of how to manage money. So you have a lot of problems. One is that some brothers just don't know how to manage their finances, and so they waste their money. I said from the outset that a lot of brothers like to go out and eat. Brothers spend an enormous amount of money just eating through their money, just eating out, drinking and partying and doing all the things that's just wasteful. And so they lose a tremendous amount of money. I don't care what their job is. That's one thing that makes them financially insolvent in many cases. But the biggest reason is because they have what I call a pauper's mindset. They have a pauper's mindset. In other words, they consume everything they get their hands on. Anything they see, they want, and they don't deny themselves anything. And so one of the biggest reasons that black men stay broke is because of the fact that they have no real focus in their life where they're trying to seek or build anything of any value that's worth anything, that has any meaning. Many black men, if you were to ask them, why do you get up in the morning every day? What are you trying to accomplish beyond, when you get this check? I mean, are you making a difference? Are you making an impact? And it's been my view that because African Americans do not have a culture for partnership or a culture for family development or a culture for community development, black people in this country, we don't have that. And so since we don't have that, it's like our culture is pretty much it's a solo type of community where people kind of do whatever they want, and we get together just to experience immediate gratification sexually, and pretty much that's it. No one's really interested in building anything, growing anything. That's just who we are. And it hasn't really benefited any of us, but that's what we do. And so we kind of can see from the outset that there's some things that we need to tweak, but we haven't been able to get to the point where we're willing to do what's required in order to make that happen. Okay, so one of the reasons why you see so many broke brothers, as I said earlier, is that they're just not focused, number one. Number two, they really are just drifting through life. Number three, they're consumers, and everything they touch, they're consumed. Number four, they have an adolescent mindset. They're not really interested, as I said earlier, about putting their hands to the plow, cultivating whatever is put before them, building, developing, and producing. Not interested in doing any of that. And five, right now, they don't really have a desire to seek anything of real meaning. If you were to ask them, is there anything of meaning that you're seeking that you want that will make your life better, that will make someone else's life better? The answer most likely would be no. Because most black men do not see the value in family. They don't see the value in taking a woman as your wife and building a legacy. They don't see that as important. I don't know when that died. I don't know when that happened. I don't know when black men decided that didn't matter anymore. But we're reaping the whirlwind, as it were, because of it. Our culture hasn't moved, and it's really tragic, to say the least. And the last part is, why is it that so many black men are lonely? That's really the worst of all of these three that we've been discussing, because the number one cause of death among black men is homicide. The number two is accident. Number three is suicide. An enormous number enormous number of black men kill themselves every year. And that says to me that there are an inordinate amount of black men who are living in silence, who are screaming for intimacy. And sadly, many black men have decided to seek intimacy in all the wrong places. Places like internet porn and going from hookup to hookup, getting involved in inordinate relationships and getting involved in behavior, criminal behavior, causing drama in the family, it's just a number of things that black men have just done in order to deal with the chronic pain and the seclusion and the separation that most black men feel in their hearts. You have to think about it this way. 75% of all black men in America come into single family homes. They really don't get a great start, especially when it comes to figuring out who they are and identifying as a man, because they really have no clue what that is. And so when you come in to a society as jaded as the United States is, and you have to deal with all the identity politics, and you have to deal with all of the confusion in this culture. Women don't know what women are, men don't know what men are, and LGBTQRFGHIJKLMNOP, we got all of that going on, and I don't know what we're going to be looking at in 2018 or 2020, and we're always coming up with something in America. We will manufacture something that's a great cause, and then we're going to milk it to the end until we get some control over a segment of the population. And in our community, it's no better. It's no better because the brothers are just totally confused. We don't know if starting a family is something we ought to do, or staying single all our entire lives until we die young, which in most cases is what's going to happen. We're going to die young, we're going to die alone, and we're going to die single, and we're not going to really make much of a real impact on this life. Because to me, one of the best ways to impact this world is through the lives of the people you have charge over. Your children, your grandchildren, your relationships, your extended relationships. It's very difficult to impact the world just as a single man. You're just one guy. See, but the people that you can create using the institution of marriage really creates a greater opportunity for most men, but most men don't understand how important that institution is. They think it's another way of avoiding responsibility because of this mentality that we have developed in our backwards, upside down culture called America. So the result is a lot of black men are hurting on the inside, experience some severe pain, a lot of emotional pain, because black men are deep, deep wells. And black men, unfortunately, as I always say, we won't verbalize what's really bothering us. And we don't know how to verbalize our pain for the lost women in our lives, and the loss that we may experience from the death of a parent or a child, or the death of a relationship. Black men are suffering tremendously, and the result is many black men are taking their own lives. And it's just tremendously sad to know that we in this culture are so divorced from what's really going on in the hearts of black men that we're not even aware, because we're so focused on all of the racial nonsense and foolishness that's always constant in our society, because that's all we see. While we're seeing our brothers dying because they believe, according to their perception, that they do not matter. And it's sad that so many brothers believe that. I said this before. One of the other reasons why a lot of brothers are alone is because not only their perception on marriage and not understanding the benefits of marriage is a lot of brothers grew up in so many in a dysfunctional environment. I said this before, many black men are raised by women. Black men don't get an opportunity to go into the world of men until either they go into the military or they go not even in a college setting, because it's predominantly women. And so it's a woman environment. Men have become comfortable in, and especially by in a sense mimicking female standards and conduct that are acceptable to females in their world. So black men, it's even worse for us, and we become emotionally detached, and it's very difficult for black women to create a bond and intimacy with black men, is because we come up in such a dysfunctional home, and that's just sad, because 75% of most black men you see, 7 out of 10 will be coming up in that type of environment. And in that type of environment, it is not sustainable to have the kind of relationships that black men need in order to create the meaning that they need in their lives. This is the last thing I'm going to say on this issue. A lot of black men, because of, as I said earlier, coming into our community the way they have, it's also very difficult for black men to be able to deal with seeing opportunities that they think they should have slip through their fingers, because black men, they many times just do not possess certain skill sets. And the skill sets that I'm referring to is social skill sets, in order to be able to take advantage of these opportunities. They just don't possess them many times. It's because it's not valued. And black men, no different than black women, they fall into certain categories, and they believe certain lies that they think they'll be able to overcome the environment and the culture and be able to live the kind of life they think they deserve. But the reality is, it fools them every time. There's a lot of black brothers out here, they have this entitlement mentality. A lot of brothers out here think they deserve to get whatever they want because they want it. A lot of brothers believe that, my mom will take care of or some woman will take care of me. No, that's not real life. And so a lot of these brothers end up alone, and they don't find out until 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, after the blue pill has stopped working, the Viagra has stopped working, and the entertainment aspect of their lifestyle loses its flavor. All of these things change, and then a man says, wow, I wasted my life. And that's why, unfortunately, so many black men are fat, alone, and sadly broke. That's my time. I thank you for yours. I catch you on the other side. God bless.